Hello and welcome back to the Sell Like You podcast with me, Harriet Meller. And I am currently recording from our new office, new location. So we're just making sure we're not too echoey. And I think we've nailed it. If you are watching us on YouTube, hello. If you prefer to watch a video, definitely come over and check us out. Just search Your Sales Co and you will find us. And if you are watching a video, you will see I have this beautiful blue sky behind me. It is 40 degrees today, a good old recording day for us here. And I did joke in the office that I was going to brave it. And it feels like a very different type of braving it when in England, I'd be like, I'm going to brave it. And it'd be brave the cold, the snow, the ice, the whatever. And here I'm like, it's 40 degrees. I'm going to brave it to to go and grab a nice coffee and hope I don't melt. So yeah, definitely very different to what my life was like about 10 years ago. So I want to come to you today with today's episode on talking about industry events. So looking at the secret to converting event leads. Last year, we saw so many events come back. I think it was the biggest, or I believe it was the biggest event comeback since COVID. And then when we think of COVID, that feels like 1 million years ago. And I probably shouldn't even be mentioning it because everyone kind of shudders at that thought. But events are big, they're back. They are one of the best ways to generate leads, to build awareness, to grow your market share. I love events. I've always loved going to events. I am a networker. It's my happy place. It's definitely my go-to if I need to find inspiration, if I want to go and connect with the right people. I just network, I go and find somewhere new, I'll go to an event. And last year we finished the last event of the year being at CyberCon, and I think it was the best event of the year. And for me, the reason why was because I was able to revisit a lot of connections and relationships that I've made over the years. And it's been a few years since I've been along to an industry event where I have known so many people. And these are people that I met when I first moved to Australia, 10 years ago. So these are like, your friends, and it feels good to see them. But this happens regardless of how long you've been in the industry and regardless of your organization size, because it's an opportunity to go see some friendly faces, but it's an opportunity to get yourself out of your comfort zone and go and have conversations with people, or look for name tags, look who's going, go and find them. Now, as part of our lead development as a service, we are supporting our clients in following up, these leads and preparing prior to getting to these leads. And one of the things that we do is that we talk about who's going to be on the stand, who's going. It's certainly a question we ask, and we make it very specific to the industry and the location. So CyberCon was in Melbourne. So anybody that was in Melbourne that we were speaking to on behalf of one of our vendors, and we talked about, or we asked them about, are they going along to CyberCon? And if they were, we flagged it, we let them know who was going to be at the stand, and then we were able to bring people together. So that worked really well. It works really well across the board. It's not something that I'm amazed by, because for me, it's just normal. It's kind of what we should be doing. And so I wanted to share a little bit more about kind of events and looking at 2024 events and looking at the opportunity that lies after the event. So we've been to the event, we've met people, we've shaken people's hands, we've connected with them on LinkedIn, maybe, and we've had some good conversations. Now, the number one thing for me that I'm going to say is extremely important is making notes during the day. Now, don't get to the end of day 1, day 2, day 3 and be like, right, let me go back through and get my notes. Unless you are an absolute whiz and you are above average in the human scale of the way that we remember things, we just can't do it. We're not going to do it justice. And it means that we're going to waste connections. Because the difference between saying, hey, John, it was great to meet you at CyberCon. How did you find the rest of the event? Did you enjoy the wine at Barcola afterwards? How was your holiday on the following week? We can't do that. And it means we don't connect with them in the same way. Whereas if we are connecting with them and then using that information, it means then that we're going to build a stronger relationship. It means that we're going to be able to ask them for more because we understand more about them. And so notes for me are going to be the number one thing, because that's going to help your marketing team be able to follow up. It's going to mean that you are going to be able to follow up, and you're going to be able to add more meaningful value based on what they've shared and what you now know about them. So we've met them at the event. We've made our notes, hopefully. They're in the CRM. We now need to start thinking about our follow-up. Now, because it's not your event, it's a trade event. If there was anything that was hot topic, if there was something that the people that I was speaking to wanted to know about, they would be the ones that I would get to quickly. So LinkedIn connection is great to happen there and then. If you are badge scanning, you can absolutely go back and do it once you've added your notes. You can use the information in your notes to be able to make a more meaningful connection as well. So extra tick. We then want to make sure then that we're doing some form of follow-up afterwards. Now, I am big on adding value, on giving them more resources, more things to be able to consume and learn from. And so if I was meeting somebody, or as I've met somebody, I am then going to be connecting with them on LinkedIn, connecting them, explaining how, why, referencing something, especially if there was something funny that happened or something that was memorable. Use that information because it's going to help you stick. It's going to help them remember, recall who you were, because you are likely not the only person doing it. Although in the way that I see follow-up happening, you might be the only person that's doing it. So then we want to create a list, a target list of follow-up. Now, I would put them into 3 buckets. I would say bucket number 1 is going to be my hot bucket. It's going to be the one that I am going for. It is the ones that I've got lots to talk about. There is a potential need there in the next 6 to 12 months, and they're open to me reaching out and having a conversation. If you're really good at this, you will have already booked in a meeting. But sometimes that's just not, it doesn't feel right. It's not the right time. And we want to slow this down. It's not a race to the finish. It's a build a relationship, understand what they need. We're selling technology. We're not selling a pen, a bottle of water, even a quick laptop. We're selling cybersecurity. We're selling large cost deals as well that are going to impact their business. So they need to trust you. They need to know that they can rely on you to be able to work with you. So they're going to be my first bucket. The second one are going to be people that I've engaged with that really stood out. They're from an ideal industry. They shared a problem that I believe we can have an impact on, but we haven't necessarily gone further. I don't know what they did the following week. I don't know enough about their needs and requirements to really go hard in that first step follow-up. So that's my first 2 buckets. My third bucket is then everybody else. Now, you may have 4 or 5 buckets, and that's entirely up to you how many of those you want. But for me, I look at those 3. Now, if I wanted support from marketing, if you're fortunate enough to have a marketing department, if you can have some sway in terms of what marketing are doing, or if marketing have already done a follow-up communication, find out what that is, what's gone, what's been included, because tying that in with what you talked to them about with your conversation at the event will again help you solidify, build trust, and build awareness. And so I've got my buckets. I've got my connections on LinkedIn. I've got my notes. My CRM is up to date. So now I can start thinking about the information I want to send. And we talked there before about, having a piece of collateral, something where we can add value. And so that may be, a white paper, a report. Now, just to clarify, a piece of value is not a capability statement. It is not a brochure. It's not a pretty deck. It's none of those things. Okay. They are all supplementary to you doing business. They are not going to inspire, educate, give somebody something really interesting to read over a coffee. And that's what we want to give them. So what do I mean by something interesting and something that's going to educate them? Well, in my experience, we've seen great things around building an ISO 27001 template relating to privileged access management. We've looked at white papers or global insights to what CIOs or CISOs are doing in 2025. Things that are giving them information and insights that they don't have direct access to is going to be extremely compelling. Additionally, it may be videos, access to webinars, past recordings. It might be podcasts. It might be YouTube videos. It might be something that you talked about that's got nothing to do with the product or service that you're selling, but instead we're there to build a connection and add value. Now, when I run training or I've done keynotes, I often share a slide and it is a dog. And it's as if you've been here for a while, I have 2 Labradors. My absolute world. Why I do what I do, I reckon. Get up, make sure they've got a good life. But essentially, the image that I show is it's about a dog, burglars, fast asleep. earthquake, fast asleep, packet of crisps opens, just slightly, and in they come. And this came because I was having a conversation with somebody about our dogs and thinking that initially when I first got my first Labrador, I was really worried that I thought he was deaf until I opened a crisp packet and he came running in. Now, we connected over this kind of vision and the fact that we both had Labradors and that this was kind of the norm. And so I found this meme and I sent it through to him and we continued the conversation. Now, yes, a meme is not going to sell you $1 million, license opportunity, but it is going to build a relationship. It means that we can have some fun whilst we're doing our job, whilst we're doing a great job for our prospects and for our ideal clients. But we need to have some fun with it. We need to be personal. We can't always be robotic and giving them the information and then moving on, because people just don't resonate with that. It just doesn't work. And yes, there are tenders and it's very formal and there has to be, these box tickings. That's part of the process, but the person on the other side of that is still a human being. And I think in sales, we often forget that it's just human to human connection. It's just me talking to you, you talking to me. That's it. Like, we don't need to overcomplicate it. We don't need to make it bigger than it is. And that's it. And when we start treating people like humans, we have a better outcome. And so when it comes to personalization and adding value, think about what you believe will actually add value to them and find something that you can share. Now, a lot of businesses that I go and work with at the beginning don't have anything. Okay, it's quite common. They don't have anything. If it's your organization, you're probably thinking we've got a capability statement and that's it. If you're very fortunate, you're going to have a whole heap of things and that's awesome. Use it, find it, learn it, give yourself a new document every single week and make notes on it. And that's what my team do. So whenever we're working and engaging with a new client, we will gather collateral and information that's shared or could be shared, and we learn about it. If you're going to send a PDF of an ebook of something, make sure you know what's in there. Make sure you know that referencing page 7, if they're a healthcare organization, is relevant. Make sure that if you're sending a podcast that's 35 minutes long, that you reference minute 11 and minute 17 and minute 24, because that's going to mean that you understand it and that you can help point them in the right direction, because everybody has been bombarded with information. And so we need to stand out by giving them something a bit unique, but also then make it relevant to them. So personalization comes in at every stage. And then when it comes to referencing the conversation you've had, the notes, the information you've uncovered, we can do that via email. We can even pick up the phone. And, I laugh about this because we're still not picking up the phone enough. It's still not the number one go-to. I find phone calls easier. I find phone calls less time consuming. I find I get answers quickly. The only time I find phone calls annoying is that if I ring people and then they ring me back and I'm already on the phone to somebody else, or I'm in a meeting and we play a bit of phone tag, and I did that with a couple of clients over the last few weeks. And then what happens is we just book in a call for 20 minutes because none of us have got time for it. So they're the only annoyances for me from a phone call perspective. Now, not everybody is the same. Not every prospect that you are going to ring is going to want a phone call. Just like your friends, or you may be the same, where you'll text somebody and they'll call you and you're like, why are you ringing me? I want a text. Text me back. I'm a voice noter. If you need to text me, I'm just going to voice note you. So for me, the conversation piece, the verbal side of things of, actually voicing out what it is that I'm trying to say or do or what I'm trying to give to you, for me is much more effective. And I believe it's much more effective for most people. The way that email works is either an anchor point, a way to bring things together, another form of communication, so that if you do get some form of interaction, we've now got it in writing, which is awesome. But we want to avoid that generic, nice to meet you. We want to make it relevant to where did we meet? How did we connect? What did we connect on? What were they going to go and do that afternoon? Was it before, the party event, or was it after? Reference those things to help bring them back or take them to a place in time so that you can have a better outcome. Now, I've mentioned about the multi-touch point strategy of having, email, phone call, LinkedIn, video message, voice message. All of those things are a great way to communicate and to add value and to learn more about the people that you're engaging with. And so don't be afraid to try all of them. Don't just stick with phone call if you're finding that you're ringing, if you've got 100 people to call and you ring 100 and you ring them 3 times and you're not getting anywhere with 50 of them, email them, connect with them on LinkedIn, send them a voice note, send them a video message, send them a text. Now, something to note is that I found on LinkedIn, I use LinkedIn a lot, is that I found on LinkedIn is that some people will listen to a voice note, some people won't. Some people love a video message, some people don't. And so I feel like it's really clear to see on LinkedIn, because I will be on LinkedIn and I will see that somebody's read my message but not engaged. I will see or hear somebody come straight back to me and be like, so great to connect, and thanks so much for your message. And then they give me all the information based on the questions or, the next steps or suggestions. So be mindful about what works, but don't stick to just one and then say it doesn't work, because if you're just emailing, it won't work. If you're just LinkedIn messaging, they might not check LinkedIn. They might not want to communicate with you via LinkedIn. So try something different. And I recommend an 8 to 12 touch point. And that's what we follow as an organization. It's what I train and create for our clients. And what it means is it removes that email once, email twice, maybe call, give up, because it takes 7 to 15 touch points on average to convert somebody. And so if we just do 1 or 2, sometimes 3, that's it. Now, it's not calling them every day. It's not calling them every other day. It's having a strategic outreach approach over 12 weeks using diverse channels. Don't overdo it. Don't try and do everything in 1 week. Spread it out. And with a CRM, you can do that. So once they're in the CRM, you've got the lead, it's come from the event, you've added your notes in, you've sent email 1. You've sent email 1 on the 12th of January. Then you're going to set a reminder to call them on the 16th of January. You're then going to make a note to connect with them on LinkedIn on that same day. You can do connections and calls on the same day. You can do emails and connections on the same day, because it feels not as committal. Whereas I wouldn't say you want to email, call, LinkedIn, and then text them all on the same day. It might feel a bit overwhelming and that might not go well for you. So leverage your CRM. Make sure you've got it tracked.